and we'll just freestyle it from there. But kind of pivoting out of the Inoue America thing, let's talk about the fight that's been rumored: the Japanese Super Bowl, the Japanese Stanley Cup of boxing, the Japanese World Series of boxing, the Japanese, all that stuff, NBA Finals for Japanese boxing. Inoue versus Nakatani. Is this fight going to be coming in 2025? Let's talk about that, because to me, now look, you guys know, like I've said many times, Inoue Angelo Leo is the fight I want to see the most. But if there's another guy that I want to see Inoue fight in boxing, it'd be Junto, because I rate Junto very highly. I think Junto Nakatani is a great fighter. I think he's not like most Japanese fighters. He's a taller fighter. He does have those Japanese fundamentals and the base, the basic skills that they have. But he's been training all these years with Rudy Hernandez, so he does got a little bit of that Mexican influence in his style, and he is a volume puncher, and he is crafty, and he can box off that tall, lanky, rangy frame of his. So there are some stylistic things that could potentially give Inoue some big problems, and that fight if it does happen, could be quite possibly be the changing of the guard of who truly is the best fighter in Japan, who truly is the face of Japanese boxing. This is kind of like what Benavidez and Canelo is in America. I feel like this fight could be that over there. That's kind of how I view it. Now, right now, as it stands, Junto Nakatani, he's fighting October 14th in Japan as part of their 2-day double-header fight series they're doing. He's fighting some guy from Thailand who's like 76-1, but hasn't really fought like really anybody too good to speak of. So he has to finish his business at 118. I'm not sure if his plan is to unify at 118, because all the other champions are Japanese, and I'm not sure what like the inner workings of Japanese boxing are like, because I know Mr. Honda doesn't like his fighters fighting each other. And unfortunately, Mr. Honda has Japanese boxing in a Cobra Clutch. So I'm not sure if we're going to see any bantamweight unification. So if Junto is just going to be a one-off 118 fighter, then that would mean that sometime very soon he should be stepping up to 122 to make his debut and probably try to go ahead and at least get a fight in, because this is a big fight. This is a fight to me. This is a Tokyo Dome fight. This is a fight. Whatever amount of tickets they sold for Neri, they could definitely pass it for this fight. And it's a great style matchup. I mean, you got Inoue, who is a great fighter at mid-range. He's one of the more athletic fighters in boxing, one of the most explosive fighters in the world, a great finisher, taking on a southpaw volume puncher who can box from the outside as well. I mean, that's an amazing style matchup. There's not many fights in boxing better than Inoue and Junto Nakatani from a skill standpoint. If I had to make a list of the top 10 fights that I want to see in boxing, this would be up there. This would be in my top 10 for sure. And I already venture to say, look, if Inoue beats a guy like Junto Nakatani, in my opinion, it's the best win of his career, because of what Junto brings to the table. Him, the age he's at now, the stage of his career he's in now. I'll be honest about Inoue. I think Inoue is still like, he's in his prime, but he's like kind of towards the tail end of his prime. I think he's getting ready to exit his prime. Still very good. Still, extremely hard to beat. Still one of the best in the world. But I think like the pinnacle for Inoue was actually the Fulton fight. I think that was the pinnacle of his boxing brilliance. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe his prime will be longer. But I just think, I'm not gonna sit here and say he's lost a step, but I just think that he's towards the latter stages of his prime, if that makes sense. So I think it's just a great fight, and it would be a great celebration of Japanese boxing. And in my opinion, there's only one other fighter from Japan that I feel represents Japanese boxing as great as these guys, and that'd be Kenshiro. But like, to me, you can't find two better representatives for a country and what they got going on in boxing than these two. So, yeah, man. If they're gonna fight, I think Junto needs to get at least one fight at 122, because asking Junto to go from 118 straight up to 122 and make his first fight beat Inoue, that's not fair, So hopefully, if he can win his next fight, go up to 122. Don't waste no time. Go beat a guy in the top 15, lower part of the top 15. Get accustomed to the weight, and then probably I would anticipate if Inoue is going to stay at 122 past December, then I would think that sometime next year, after probably in the latter stages of next year, around this time next year, we should be getting Inoue versus Nakatani. And I want to know from you guys, the chat, who would you guys favor in Inoue Nakatani? I'll be honest, that to me, that's a pick'em fight. I feel like Inoue could exploit Junto sometimes. Leaky defense and the fact that he throws so many punches will give Inoue more than his fair share of counter punch opportunities. But man, Junto Nakatani, I've never ever picked against Inoue. Like his whole career in boxing, I've always picked him to win his fights. All my predictions have been Inoue. This may be the first fight, unless he fights Angelo before then, that I will pick against Inoue. Junto is that good of a fighter.